all my computers dropped out at the same time, so I don't know what's happening. Could be the snow, but we're really snowed under here. Like we've already got 2 or 3 inches. It's amazing.
Yeah, back live. You got 2 or 3 inches. Wow. I have to. Never mind.
Okay, so I missed most of the conversation, so this may be redundant. I don't know, but another reason that I think Matt did not point out, Matt Tom Thorns with his article.
I'm going to advocate for Matt Todd. You can be Sophie. You can be Sophie Knight.
Well, I didn't read her article, so I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But another reason that we sometimes complain about things in different languages is just, well, not exactly. Okay. Sometimes people need to know what's happening to feel like they're in control, even if they can't do anything about it. Just telling people what's happening reassures people that of what's happening. They feel comfortable. You know, like when you call someone, when you're going to be late, you call someone and tell them, I'm going to be late. The fact that you just tell them that you're going to be late makes them relax a little bit.
So saying that Japan is making more progress on acceptance of minorities, for example, makes you feel more comfortable?
Than hearing nothing, yeah. But I didn't say I'm not talking about that particular.
Oh, sorry, because that's the point that we just left off on with Baye, for example. I was asking, what's the state of what's the state of acceptance of minorities in Japan, and is it making progress? And the conclusion was it's not really making progress. That's your concern, right? Not one of the words into your mouth.
I haven't seen any progress. So, yeah, I will continue to talk about the things I'm talking about until I see some progress, and I will try other methods as well.
But does it give you satisfaction in a sense that you're doing something about it by writing, or?
It does. It does give me satisfaction. I mean, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time and running in place, own style.
Like a hamster on a wheel, kind of. Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of support from my Japanese friends and the people I know. They are encouraging me to continue to do so. So I know I'm on the right. I know I'm in the right place when I'm getting that kind of support from the people who. And criticism is a strong word. I mean, criticism in this case is it means saying something negatively.
No, it doesn't. It means critiquing, which can be either way, of course. So this is all. I wouldn't say
it's criticism. He's bringing attention to an important subject.
I'm saying, for example, if Sophie Knight, right? If she had written a piece about how wonderful Japan is, in some aspect of Japan, I mean, is that something that should be only written in Japanese as well?
Well, that's right. I mean, so. The critique of to put words into Matt Thorne to try to paraphrase his whole blog,
right?
Is that if you're talking about Japanese society, if there's a presumption that if your intention is not just to shout aimlessly out the window, that you want to do it with some purpose, then why would you why would you not do that in the language of the people that should be hearing the message? And aren't you pissing into the wind? Is more or less the paraphrase of the whole thing, which I think isn't the case. But there again, it's a valid question to ask. I think why would we go to Russia and complain in Spanish about the place, or even say anything positive about it or whatever?
Well, that's a good example. I mean, many things are written about Russia and the problems are criticizing Russia, and they're mostly written in English. I mean, down by English speakers, I don't think anybody was saying, "Oh, you should go to South Africa and study Afrikaans before you criticize South Africa." I mean, people who criticize South Africa and apartheid was brought down by English speakers, mostly, and from people within the country, of course, as well. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, that argument, I'm on the fence. It has some strong points and it has some weak points.
Well, there's no question. It's, if you really want to have a direct impact and change Japanese people, of course, speaking to them directly in their own language and their own media, of course, that's a great thing. But is it a waste of time to talk in English about Japan? Maybe that's the question. And there is an element which I used to be, which I'm going to say, the guy's being a bit of a language snob. He's being a bit of, I speak Japanese and I'm great. So why is this other person, talking about something which, if they don't speak Japanese, they can barely understand, and why are they talking about this in English? Which the thing was even he acknowledged. So Sophie made good points actually. He just objected to the whole framework of it, and when to me that's a conclusion almost acknowledging it's a bit snobbish, which I used to be. I used to be like that myself. I've kind of and I've changed my view a little bit, but
the first 6 years you're kind of snobbish.
I still am snobbish. Quiet peasant.
Well, I'm sure there's certain aspects of Japanese culture that you would need to be fluent in the language to understand.
But you know what?
Well, being fluent in the language
helps.
Are there?
Well, it always helps. It helps, but I don't think there's any impossibility. It's not like they're freaking Martians, seriously. I mean, although some people like to play up the idea that they are.
Right.
And some people make a living of playing up the idea that they are, but no, they're not.
And the issues I'm talking about, they're never, ever related to communication. So whenever someone says, well, you should study a language, and then maybe you'll understand why people don't sit next to you on the train, this kind of thing. I'm like,
I was about to run away. I was about to go there. I was about to say, to them, even though, like I say, they might use it as an excuse and illegitimately, to say it's not related to communication is a little bit of a jump. I think everything is related to communication one way or another.
Oral communication.
Yeah, well, there's a thing like with the apartments. Something which drives me crazy. As you know, I embrace the empty seat, and I still get the empty seat. I actually travel to Yokohama a lot of days now.
Right. What is MPC?
The empty seat, the seat with no person.
Empty seats, okay.
And there are people standing, the train is packed, and then even me, the seat beside me is empty half the time, and I just think, stretch out and enjoy it, man. But but what used to really bother me more is something which really impacts my life, like apartment hunting, for example. And the idea that these landlords who won't rent to any foreigner because I can't talk to them about the garbage rules. That's a pretty common, or when they say, or they'll say, someone defending landlords who do that will say, well, it's probably just that they can't speak, they'll assume that the foreigner can't speak Japanese, and the landowner will get in trouble for the foreigners not separating their garbage properly, which happens. I mean, that's the Japanese side of that. And there is a communication gap. I mean, to the foreigner who's being told you can't look at this apartment, it's just straight up discrimination. And to the other side, they're feeling misunderstood, and they see it maybe correctly or incorrectly, but it's being perceived as purely as an oral communication issue on the Japanese side.
Right.
But the whole thing is that there's a complete, gap in mutual understanding or even caring to try to understand. And the Japanese side isn't being victimized by this, so the onus is on them to understand. I mean, that's a completely legitimate position that it's not an equal onus.
Right.
In that sort of situation. But there again, if you really want to change that or impact that, how can you really do that shouting at them in English?
Absolutely, you're right about that.
Well,
disagree with me.
25% of the Japan Times is apparently Japanese readership, right?
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm saying it was 30%. When it was pitched to me to do this column, I was told that I think it said 25 or 30% of the readership is Japanese. So.
I didn't realize that. Wow, you guys know your stats.
Well, let's play the devil's advocate and say it's only 10%. But that 10%, let's say it's 20%, whatever. That 10% is a very vocal.
And so on.
We are the 10%. Sorry.
They are powerful people. Those are the people who actually change things. Those are the people who sway society.
English speakers, world travelers.
English-speaking Japanese are at the top of the hierarchy, or the what's it called? The eating thing that people do.
Sorry, are you marking for your English school, Victor?
What's it called?
About 90% of Ferrari drivers in Japan are fluent English speakers. Maybe you could say maybe that's true, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who have trouble fitting into Japanese society altogether who show a lot of interest in English at the same time.
That's true. That's true.
The people who reject Japanese society tend to really embrace English and getting that out.
You must admit this though. Japanese
No,
are
I don't.
extremely. Well, I haven't said it yet.
Well, I know. You don't need to.
Japanese are extremely sensitive to world opinion.
Japanese are sensitive to all Japanese. You must understand, are all very sensitive to world opinion. I hate sorry, that's one of my. Well, it's unavoidable when you talk about Japan and things like this. At some point, you're going to say, "Hey, Japanese people, you know, they love apples, man." Apples. Every single Japanese person, without an exception, loves apples. Even the people who are allergic to them.
Generalizations really irk me too.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. The problem, well, here we go. Here I'm gonna go charging into a minefield. People make generalizations because sometimes there's a general consensus that there's some degree of truth to them. I mean, whatever. I mean, maybe what you're saying is a fair statement. Sorry, what did you say again? I've forgotten.
Generally speaking, Japanese. Generally speaking,
Japanese about world opinion.
Very sensitive when it comes to international opinion.
I disagree.
They hate to be Japan. Who says the word bash? Gays in Japanese. Gay bashing, Japan bashing. Not many other countries use that. You don't hear Chinese people say China bashing. America bashing, no. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
I don't think it's exclusive to Japan. I don't.
Name another country that uses the word bash.
Well, England uses it, but they use it in a very different way.
I thought we were here to have a serious discussion. You guys.
Yeah. But the bashing thing, you're saying that's just about Japan. No, bashing is it's like a something gate. You know, like a scandal becomes something gate. Something bashing. It's not a generic term that you attach to.
But it's not a common Google search. Look up bash, and you'll come up with Japan bashing and gay bashing. You don't come up with other.
There's no Korea bashing or Australia bashing or sheep bashing.
Not to that extent. Japan is at the top.
Okay, Japan's number one.
Okay, Angelina Jolie put out that movie. What do they claim? Oh, you're Japan bashing right away. Gay, you say something about homosexuals. Even blacks who you don't even have to argue about this. Blacks get a lot of shit. Baye, I'm sure you'll agree on this one. I mean, they get. You don't bring up this argument. It's black bashing. You never even hear that. No one ever says that. But
here you go. I'm looking at Wikipedia on the word bashing as a pejorative, and it says common areas where they use it are religion, nationality, sexuality, and politics.
But what's a common pair?
Japanese.
What's a common pair?
I'm not saying that they're both not common, but I don't think that's the whole thing.
There's no, not even Jew bashing. There's anti-Semitic. There's an actual word for that.
You just invented it. So now you're gonna get blamed for that too.
It'll become a thing.
It'll become a thing. I can see there's a subject here on French bashing. French bashing is a thing, and it's probably done.
Thank you, my arguments. Japan likes to portray itself as a victim. That's what I'm saying.
Oh God, you did it again, though. Oh, chills. Japan likes to portray itself as a victim. Bullshit. I'm going to say.
America likes to portray itself as the police of the world.
There are Japanese people who care a lot about world opinion, and there are Japanese people who like to play up that Japan is a victim. But the perception that many Americans have that Japan portrays itself as a victim of World War II, I've talked with plenty of people, Japanese people, about World War II, and there are people who see Japan as a victim.
I'm not talking about World War II. I'm not talking about World War II.
Or victim of anything. I mean, the victim mentality thing, I mean, I don't think Japan has a... My experience of talking with Japanese people, I don't think there is a majority consensus idea that Japan is a victim of everything.
The only consensus I've come across generally is that a lot of Japanese people I've spoken to, when they travel abroad, they experience discrimination in foreign countries. So anytime we're having a discussion about my experiences in Japan, they always will give me an example of the same thing happening when they traveled abroad.
Yeah.
And that's something that I can say is a consensus.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's quite a bit less than what your
country, huh?
I'm sure it's quite a bit less. You know what their idea of racism is? Oh, they put our table next to the kitchen or the toilet. I didn't get a window seat.
That's not what they usually say. The example that's cited to me is that they get called Chinese or someone presume.
That's
Yeah.
not an insult. Calling Japanese people Chinese is not an
Well,
insult.
wait a minute. Now, what you're talking about is maybe the intention behind it wasn't to be racially offensive, but it was insensitive and it resulted in hurt to the person who received it. And this, now you're getting into the whole gaijin word debate, which I have a view on, which is that it's BS. But yeah, no, that's an equivalent point, and that actually does line up with some of the things that Baye says consistently about Japan as well. So that's legit.
Yeah.
Even though I disagree. I get it. Well, no. By the way.
I mean, have you heard that as well?
Yes. Well, yeah. Sorry, white people get it easy everywhere. And I'm sorry, Debito, but seriously, we do. And enjoy it.
Actually, it's about time you brought up his name. Yeah.
It had to come up once.
That's the first person I thought of when I read this article.
I'm not. I think we get a better one on average than most people put in the same position with different appearance, and that's wrong. But it's how it is. Japanese people who go to New Zealand, I've seen, for example, treatment at immigration differentiated between white people and Asian people, and it's not specific to Japanese perhaps, but the idea that when you don't speak perfect English, the way that you get treated by banks or by restaurant staff or by administration or anything like that, when you show even a hint that you're not a native English speaker, oh God, I've got to waste my time with Forrest Gump here. He doesn't even speak English. They are really harshly treated. Hell,
Forrest Gump? The Forrest Gump is where you go.
Well, I always revert to Forrest Gump when I don't know what else to say.
Forrest Gump, but okay.
Honestly, Mr. Blonde Hair, well, I used to have blonde hair. Mr. Blue Eyes, konnichiwa, McDonald wa doko desu ka? Oh my God, you're so good at Japanese. I mean, seriously. Yeah, Japanese.
Point. That is a very good point.
Get it tough. Yeah, and they have legitimate complaints, just like everybody else. Yeah, no, there's legitimacy there.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I wasn't thinking about Japanese people who actually left the country, but that is a good point.
That's what the point was. I think English-speaking countries are so inconsiderate towards non-native speakers, and we don't understand how hard it is for those people. In a way, because it's harsh on them, it places all this pressure to get good at English. That I think it makes them do that. Whereas Japanese society is kind of so soft in a way on foreigners, and they jump up and praise people too readily, I think, and I think it's part of the reason why so many foreigners here, stay here for a long time without getting good at Japanese, because they don't feel the same intense pressure that you get being in an English-speaking society that just doesn't tolerate people who don't speak English.
My family's lived in America now 45 years.
Yeah.
Even now, my father has to deal with people, and my father's English he's been published in journals.
Yeah.
Many times. He's a professional, but you still run into people speak American. I don't know what this guy's saying. People who pretend they can't understand my father. Yes, he still has a heavy accent, but yeah, you still meet assholes all the time. And it's to the point where he's actually considering going back to Peru to retire. After spending all this time here, he thought, well, I just want to go back where I can feel comfortable, and that'll be back in Peru. So I completely support that. Yeah. Americans can be real dicks when it comes to people with accents.
I've had a unique experience, I guess. Like in New York City, it's a different city. So there's no presumption that you're going to speak English, and there's no attitude if you don't speak English. And there are many segments of New York where people do not speak English. If you go to Chinatown, there are actual Chinese people who cannot speak English. Or if you go down to Brighton Beach, there's some Russians down there who cannot speak English.
Yes.
A lot of Hispanics up in Washington Heights who cannot speak English. So, I mean, you can survive in New York City without having English as a base.
But New York's a special place.
New York is a very special place.
That is very true. Yeah.
But so yeah, the idea that Japanese, I think Japanese can experience and through that understand a little bit of what minorities in Japan go through that sort of experience. The idea that people come and they read something that Baye says and they say, yeah, I actually encountered something. I don't think it's having their kitchen, their table being put near the kitchen. I think they actually really do. And the thing is, guys like you and me, I've got no appreciation that sort of thing existed until I saw it with my own eyes. When I was helping people out in that situation, I was like, holy crap, they're really treating you like that. So, you know, you always I think we all try to assume by default that everyone's just basically decent to each other, but unfortunately, I think it's not actually the majority of cases, and this is the kind of thing that I get through, even writing in English. You know, you can try to, it just is it's a baby step, but it's something that, you know, starts to try to address and correct that, I guess.
Well, one thing I've learned, like, from blogging all these years, is I've modified my style over the years, you know, with the assistance of the Japan readership.
Yeah.
And I learned to stop criticizing, you know. I mean, or to criticize more effectively.
So what you mean is that you've sold out to the man?
I've sold out entirely. No. Well, I don't think it's about criticism. I don't think that criticism is the objective here. It's not to criticize. The objective here is to, for my objective, I should say, is to help foreigners manage their situation. I mean, I think a lot of foreigners come here and they think that what they're seeing and what they're experiencing is all in their heads. You know, because if you read the internet, a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, it's all in your head. You know, what you're seeing is not real. Don't, you know. But it is
Stop being such a victim.
Huh?
This victim mentality. Get over it.
Yeah, exactly. It'll drive you nuts because you're going to battle it. You're going to try to, you know, you're going to use all kind of psychological calisthenics to try to overcome these things when really there's other ways you can deal with it. And what I do is I talk about how I've dealt with it, you know, and, you know, hopefully I've helped out. I've not obviously, but apparently I've helped out other people through my writing. And that's what I try to do. Even my Japan Times articles, I'm not focusing on, oh, Japanese is so horrible, they're this, they're that. This is not the focus of my work. My work is you can come here and you can make a good life for yourself. But these are the kind of challenges you're going to have to face and overcome in order to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
That's good. I like that.
It all starts with awareness. I mean, wherever it starts, even if it's starting with the people coming in or whatever, I mean, at the same time, you're never going to be able to, if you don't understand, you got to understand both sides to be able to fix it as well. You know, and this is the other problem. So many people come here and they get so angry at what they see, and they don't deal with it, you know, and they exacerbate the situation sometimes by, you know, getting angry about the wrong thing, or maybe it is the right thing, but, you know, the point is that they're not being understood, but they interpret it straight up as just being intentional racism. And then the other person feels victimized by the person who misunderstood me, and you know, it all just kind of gets into a mess. You know, if you want to start correcting that, someone's got to start with some degree of awareness. Yeah. And you know, it doesn't have to be on the Japanese side necessarily.
Well, what Baye says is very true. I mean, just giving someone an example of another way to deal with something, or even showing people a wrong way to deal with something is a good thing to do. Like I posted videos of myself dealing with Japanese in a very improper way, and I've called it stuff. Don't come to Japan if you're this kind of guy. And I've made videos like when I've actually made mistakes, like I've lashed out, you know, and I post that and I said, don't do this. This is a mistake. I dealt with this wrongly. But you give people something to look at, and they can see how they should. Well, they can look at your example and decide how they're going to react. But,
well, I've been here long enough to see how other people respond to it, and I've seen a lot of patronizing and superiority complexes, and it's definitely not the way. It is a way that people deal with it, you know, by looking down on the Japanese and criticizing them from a position, like he said, like Matt said, from a position of superiority, looking down on them, and that is maybe that's the most.
A lot of people do think that way. No.
Yeah, I think that's the most popular way to deal with the challenges you're going to face in Japan. Huh?
Well, and I'm not going to ascribe this to race. I'm going to ascribe this to culture and language. People who are from Western countries and who speak English, and they see all the whole world that they see, from, you know, the 1 or 2 countries in Africa that speak English, to the 1 or 2 countries in Europe that speak English, to the you know, colonies of the British Empire that speak English. The whole world speaks English and thinks like us. Why are you different? Yes, sure, right. I've come to your country, but you need to fix your problem and be more like the rest of the world, like me. Yeah, and people, you know, like, that's how they deal with what they can't understand sometimes. And they come with if you're not doing it this way, you're making some excuse for doing it wrong. I mean, and I run into that with with people who definitely come in with that, real expat, that top end view. I deal with those people a lot, and those people, one thing I like about Japan is that those people really, sometimes they succeed, but 90% of the time they really don't succeed in Japan, because Japan just says, go stand in the corner and talk to yourself.
Well, are there any universal rights and wrongs?
I think there are. There
are. Absolutely, there are.
Yeah. But
and this is something that I would say the majority of Japanese people you speak with will agree with you that it's a wrong.
Agree. But I think the point is, are you coming at it from an approach that, look, even you must agree, this is something, we share this view in common, don't we, that this is strange, or, help me understand why this is different, to the point of view that it's inherently wrong if it's different. That mentality and that kind of tone of speaking, and that's the top down. And I don't think Sophie showed that at all in her blog at all, right. Although that's what Matt accuses her of. But that view and that perception definitely exists, and it's a form of laziness, the way that I look at it. So I don't need to try to understand or be an apologist for these people. I'm just telling it like it is. They've got to change, and it's an excuse for not actually spending the effort to try to actually connect. That's the big, people aren't even trying to, to get awareness across, that's.
Yeah. Well, here's another problem with this. But this is a very select example. But quite a few years ago, I guess, I actually tried to reach out to Japanese critics of my video. And not necessarily just my videos, but there were some Japanese who were hassling this one guy, Medama Sensei on YouTube, who made a video about racism in Japan, and he was basically talking about Japanese attitudes towards Okinawans, and he got a couple things wrong, but in general he was really hassled to the point where they were calling his school where they thought he still worked, trying to get him fired, and I made a video in Japanese with English subtitles, trying to tell those Japanese that that's not cool. You don't call someone's business if you disagree with them because they wrote something on the internet, right? But basically failed. And actually, that one video, which I thought was a magnanimous gesture of trying to communicate with my
reach across the area.
No, if anything, that video is now seen actually as something that they use against me. They actually sent that to my school as a complaint that look at the kind of shit your teacher, they don't know I own the school. Look at the kind of shit your teacher puts out on the internet.
You're like Willy Wonka.
Really? They did that? Wow.
Yeah, they actually emailed my own video back to my own school to complain about me. Even though the video itself is saying, hey guys, let's get along, but this is not cool for you to call people's businesses to try to get people fired. And they use that to try to get me fired.
Business.
You should have responded, okay, I'm going to fire him today.
They've called before, and my managers handed the phone to me, and I said, okay, hi, can I help you? And they hang up. They won't deal with me directly. I've invited them many times to talk to me directly, but those are the people that you can't reach.
But you're dealing with psychopaths. You're dealing with a specific. And the problem is, and this is the risk of this thing, and this is what I hate about the internet, is that you allow those people, they very easily dominate these conversations and create a perception.
They steer the conversation.
That they represent any kind of percentage, which they don't. But a lot of people get left with that view, and that's another complicated thing with the times, I guess.
And their existence scares other people from getting on the internet and talking about what they want.
And it might be one of the reasons why people deal with issues in English to avoid having to deal with Japanese psychopaths.
Mitchell McCombs makes a beautiful comment. The internet really has brought out the best in humanity. I had to chuckle.
Well, I think if the best is puppies and kittens and interspecies videos, I love to see a goat and an elephant play, and a dog and an elephant play.
I like sheep videos.
A cat and an owl. Those things are just beautiful. I have to say, animals have really succeeded where we have not. We humans can't get along, but animals have sure shown us something.
Yeah. I think sheep have much to teach us.
I'm not going to that school.
Let me ask both of you one question.
Yes.
About trolls. Someone just wrote,
Oh,
"Don't bother with Japanese trolls. They are just like any other trolls. They are retards." Says Jude Jericho. Thank you for that. But my problem is that Japanese trolls actually bother me a bit because I always tend to think that it's a misunderstanding. You just don't understand me.
You've got the biggest victim complex about Japanese trolls I've ever seen. They don't understand me. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, but I want them to understand me. That's why you make that video, which they use against you. Yeah. No, Japanese trolls are unique, just like all other trolls. They're all the same.
I wanted to say something else about the issue at hand. I mean, when sometimes you're watching Japanese television and you'll hear, or even when you're talking with your friends, I mean, Japanese criticize the West in Japanese.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Often, and I mean, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. I mean, it's not a good excuse, but
But remember as well, and we're getting a bit sidetracked here, and this is another thing which happens easily in these conversations, but we're talking away about gaijin on gaijin stuff here. These are like gaijin cliques, kind of, debating, and this goes on a lot in the Japan Times, world, which is a very narrow subset of Japanese society. But there is this thing to assume, yeah, Japanese do that as well, but the discussion is kind of about, a gaijin criticizing another gaijin, and frankly, it feels a little bit like they're criticizing that person partly to point out that I speak Japanese better than you or something like that, which again, I think, even in honesty, I've been guilty of in the past, and I'm reformed. I'm not going back there, but I can relate to kind of having been a dick once in my life in a dark period a long time ago when I was young and very stupid.
Once in your life, okay.
It went on for a long period of time, but I don't know. That in itself, my conclusion is it is snobby to say that. It's snobby. Sure, it's always better and more effective if you want to reach out to Japanese people to do it in Japanese, but who's saying that she was trying to speak in English, or that there's nothing that can be achieved by trying to share thoughts, or to have an intelligent discussion or have an intelligent idea in your own natural mode of expression, right? There's no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Although now I've got to disagree with that, because that's what.
Yeah,
I agree with you either way.
We sorry? Well, I was just going to say, so we are, apart from the technical trouble because of the
sorry for that. That's never happened before. I don't know.
We are over time, but I'm going to be flying to Australia this time next week.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be in
the Christmas colours.
That is extremely cool, man.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be having.
Australia, right?
Sorry.
It's summer there.
It's summer there. It's going to be hot. Long days, barbecues, swimming pools, movie stars.
Definitely hillbillies.
Yes, that's right, all the way, man.
So next week it's actually Christmas, isn't it?
That's right.
Is it the 24th?
Christmas Eve in Japan.
Christmas Eve.
So in Japan, of course, that's Christmas, which is the day that Jesus dated somebody. But no, it's quite a bit confused in Japan, hasn't it?
That's all. Most people won't get that joke, but
you have to live in Japan to get that joke.
Yeah, you guys, you're just not good enough to understand that joke.
And if you don't get it, well, you're just beneath me. But yes, so I'm going to be flying. I haven't actually uploaded the special episode, the special record studio episode.
You should upload it next weekend then.
I might do it this weekend.
Next Wednesday, do it then.
Well, I'll set it for next Wednesday. There was a lot of background noise when we were recording because we had that door open where everyone was having a party.
Oh, really?
It still looks really good, and you can hear it. Although people complain about the sound. But yes, Boxing Day cricket, indeed, in Australia. So I'll be there. What are you guys doing for Christmas?
I'll be here, eating chicken and cake, looking at illuminations, all that good stuff.
Kentucky Fried?
I'm working. You working on a Christmas Day? I'm working.
No, I'm off from this Friday, 19th, until the 7th.
Yeah, oh, good. That's nice.
Yeah,
I'm working until the 26th.
Riding and resting.
I'll be traveling during Christmas, but I will be partying for all of the Emperor's birthday.
When are you coming back to Japan?
January 10. We have 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a nice vacation.
It's a good break.
That is nice. That's really long.
So I will be thinking of you in this. No, probably not. But you know.
During this show, we sold a T-shirt. I'd just like to tell you. I just checked up.
You're not going to do any shows from Australia and New Zealand, no?
I think I might. Although I think
Right, yeah.
New Year's break, we'll see. But I don't see why not. Why not?
Well, let's take next week off.
Yeah, do a road show.
Might do a road show. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oyajis around the world. We'll see how it goes. I think next week I'm going to upload, because it's going to be Christmas Eve. I'll upload the recorded video, which we did the preview of the other day.
Great,
And
great.
probably maybe in the first week of January, I might do a show from Australia. That might be fun. Baye, you came on really short notice, and this was based on you on a comment on my Tokyo Tonight the other night saying, hey, if you want to talk about that, I'll join you. And I thought, okay, you come on. And you came on really short notice, so thanks for coming and joining us on such short notice.
Thanks, Baye.
Thanks,
And,
man.
That was a cool conversation. And of course, friend of the show, you'll be welcome back again. And everybody go and check out. He writes regularly, monthly for the Japan Times.
I do.
As well as you're a publisher of 2 books, including, and I got to say, I mean, if buy both, but if you're to buy one, this book, I'm a big fan of this book. You can read my review on Amazon of this. You can see it on my handle name, and it's well worth a read. It's a great book. So always a pleasure to have Baye on the show, and get you back again. Have a good 2015.
Thank you. You too, man. Happy New Year. Happy holidays, fellas.
Put his link in the description there, Hiko.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Yokohama.com.
Loco in Yokohama, right?
But you can go to my website. Is BayeMcNeil.com.
Okay. I got one last announcement. I got the clips. This morning for the happy video. It took what was it taking, like 12 months to get the clips?
Oh, really?
I got them.
Well, that's great.
But you know what? So here's the thing. And by the way, this includes you, Baye. I'm saying this directly to you.
Okay.
I want everyone to go to YouTube. I'm going to put a link for the happy song that I'm going to use as the underlying track. And I want people to get their iPhones or their webcams or whatever. And all I need is like just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 that, as a minimum. You can dance the whole thing if you want to, but as long as I get like 2 bars, do me a happy dance. It can be a small dance. It can be a big dance. I don't care. But let's finish up the year with an out-of-date meme.
That's good. Yeah. Why not?
I really want to do that.
Get it out of our systems, you know.
I got clips. I've got enough to make a video, but you know what? You guys in the comments, we always try to bring you into the comment. You guys can come and you dance with us, and I'm going to reach out to each one of the guests of the show as well. I want to do this by next week because I want to do this before I travel. So the deadline is Sunday, so it's not that long. But I'm going to reach out and yeah, just record a video, put it on YouTube as a private video, and send me the link, and I can rip the video. Or put the video on Google Drive or even Dropbox and send me the link. And whatever I've got by Sunday, I'm going to edit together, and that's going to be how I'm going to wrap up the year. It's going to be we're going to dance together.
Great.
So yes.
Thank you for
what am I doing? What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What am I doing?
You're just dancing. You can be dancing in your chair. You can do a chair dance. I'm very good at chair dancing. Actually, I can give you some lessons. Or you can actually like stand up. But you know the happy video and all the happy videos that happen of just people like just dancing here and there and just putting all the clips together.
You know, by Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, show us some of the moves. So come on. But simple is good. The whole idea is just to get everyone together for the end of the year. I think it's a nice way to wrap up the year. So I'll send around the information for that a bit later. But yes, Travis Moore, I want you to do that as everyone else. Everyone watching this is invited.
Everyone watching this is legit. Outlaw, Mandy there, James O'Hara.
Damn straight. So I'm going to sign off with that. I'll put more information about that. Come and join me for Tokyo Tonight on Sunday night, and I'll see you guys later. And thanks for the show, Baye.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.
Well.